G'day everyone, we are back with none other than this guy who is Trav, the Captain of Carruthers, and myself, James McCracken, and we are discussing today a very interesting topic of family is a fallacy. And of course, this is in the context of a business or work environment. Again, Trav, this is one that you had to fight tooth and nail in order to be brought into one of these episodes. So why don't you hit us up in terms of why this is a topic you wanted to discuss, and then we'll explore whether you and I are on the same side of the ledger or whether we have opposing opinions here.
Interesting. Maybe one of us can sway the other by the end of this podcast. We'll see. We'll see where it lands. But yeah. So look, I understand this is a pretty polarizing topic because there is a lot of emotion attached to these types of things. But the topic around family is a fallacy. So it's something that I feel that I've been guilty of in the past is treating my team like family, when in fact we consider ourselves at Virtus a high performing team as opposed to a family. Through this podcast, I will sort of unpack my thought process and why we've shifted from that family mentality to the high performing team mentality, and hopefully provide some insights on where we're seeing benefits around that.
Okay, great. So let's get the unpacking done straight away to use a bit of the old vernacular and why you've come to this realization and therefore why you think you've got a high performance team and not a family.
Okay. So, look, in the early days, like very passionate about the business. I was very passionate about the people I worked with. Still am to this day, right? Like, still love my team, but I was guilty of calling certain people in the business my work wife. I had people in the business that were essentially considered family, and for different reasons at different times, people have moved on. So it sort of made me challenge my thought process around this. Like when you think of family, right or wrong, is there forever.
Hmm.
There, if you have a blow up with your family, or they're always going to be there, right? So this is where we shifted to this high performance team, right? So when you look at team members, so Origin's what, a couple of days away, right? So you look at the Origin teams or the top NRL teams. There are players that will play for a team for a season, for 5 seasons. They might play for that team for their entire career, but at some point they are going to leave.
Yep.
And it's no different to a business. So when you think about it, you might have somebody that'll come into the business that will work in the business for a period of time and help you grow that business, and the business heads in a direction, or they want to head in a different direction, they might leave. Or you might have someone that might stick around for 20 years, but at some stage they're going to retire and they're going to move on. So I wouldn't say, again, I don't want this to sound sterile. Like I look at my closest friends. I grew up playing football with them from when I was 7 years old. I'm 42 years old now. This friendship has spanned 35 years, and we talk nearly daily in a group chat. A bunch of us guys that have been playing football since we were kids.
Yep.
So, like, I have genuine love for these guys. They're my closest friends, but yeah, they're not my family. They're my teammate. They were my teammates. So that's sort of the analogy that we've sort of shifted to with Virtus. And since we've seen some real improvements in the performance of the business.
Okay, interesting. So I wonder, firstly, can you ditch your family? I mean, some people have, right? I mean, dead set. So I understand that you don't choose your family, you choose your friends. I get that. And you choose your work colleagues and so forth. But there's categorically people out there, and rightly so, I would suggest, who have ditched their family because the family is toxic for one of who knows what reasons. And so therefore they choose to therefore embrace other ways of approaching things, but they may, in the absence of having the blood-based family, go looking for another version of where to belong. And so is that still different than having a family?
No, I would challenge you, like, so let's say you're estranged from your brother, right? It doesn't change the fact that he's still your brother. You might not speak to him, but he's still your brother,
Right.
right? Where you have a team member that essentially the same, whatever was the issue that caused you to be estranged from your brother, if that same thing was to occur with a teammate, they
Yep.
now just become an ex-teammate.
Hmm.
Like it's not so. I don't know that's. I know that we've obviously got a difference of opinions on this, but this is sort of where, like as I said, I have genuine love for my teammates. I have genuine love for my team. When we did our retreat recently, one of one of the common pieces of feedback we got from our operations team was, Trav, like you genuinely care about us, and it's true, I do. Like I do, but it doesn't change the fact that they are in this business to perform a function and perform that role. And if they do not perform it to the standard that is required upon them, then we will be having some conversations. And if I can't get them to perform at that standard, well, then there's no two ways about it. Like we need to move them on. It's simple as that. We're not a charity. We're a business.
Hmm. Okay. So high performance team. Let's look at this then. Are there any parallels or attributes that you can bring across from a family orientation that you think can enhance the performance of a team?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Like back to that point about having genuinely caring about your team members. Like obviously with our team, I've got different levels of contact with different, like my two power brokers, for example. I speak to them probably 20 or 30 times a day. So you can imagine that my relationship with them is probably far stronger than my submissions and my settlements team because I have less contact with them. But
Yep.
yeah, like we're building that rapport, and we have a really deep understanding of each other's personal lives. Like you know what I mean? Like they know my family. Like I mean, they've met my kids. Like it's yeah. So there
So
is
they
some
know your family, but they're not your family.
exactly.
So you won't be saying to any of them, what's one of your team members' names?
Glenda.
So you won't be saying to Glenda, Glenda, I am your father. Sorry,
Yeah.
I just
No.
wanted to say that line because me and my son have been
Yeah.
debating Darth Vader recently
Yeah.
and Luke Skywalker. So anyway, that was the reference for anyone who thought that was completely out of context.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I feel silly for saying that. Okay, what about, is there anything that you do in a high performance work environment that you think can enhance your family environment?
Yes. Yes, there is. I would say my marriage is probably I would say that we probably put a high performance lens over our marriage. Like I would say that I've got extremely high standards for my wife, and I would say she has extremely high standards for me. And that allows us. We've been together 6 years, been married two and two now. Very, very happy, right? But it's like we don't coast through our marriage. If I have a problem, I tell her, and she'll work. If she has a problem with me, she'll tell me, right? So yeah, it is. It's this high performance that
Is
we.
that a standard or is that a choice around a particular value, which in this instance is clear or transparent communication?
Um, Good question. Look, it could be both. It could be both. Back to that previous podcast around transactions, like my wife and I are very clear on the fact that like we need to turn up for each other every day. If we stop turning up for one another, like that this relationship is going to deteriorate to a point where it's not serving either of us, right? So yeah, I know it sounds very sterile, but I have a very, very successful, happy marriage, and I don't see it changing, and it's based on those values, like you mentioned. But yeah, we do set very high standards for one another, and we set similar standards in the business for our staff.
So you keep saying standards. I'm not sure that they are. Uh, I know that they t tend to be in a work environment. Can you give me an example of what you think is another standard in a home environment? Not necessarily with the missus, but potentially with some other aspect of your home life.
Mm. Yeah, look, yeah, I'm gonna have to tend to agree with you on this one. I think, yeah, because the things that I'm thinking of, you're right. They're values around with my children, for example, the way that they treat people, the way that they expect to be treated, manners. Yeah, so that those are core values. You make a really good point there. That would not be a standard. That would be a value that we. Uh,
I'm not trying to be right or wrong here. I'm just asking questions. So let's look at it from a slightly different perspective. There's a book out there that is actually behind me on the bookshelf. It's by Ray Dalio, who runs the largest hedge fund in the world. Can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's a couple of hundred billion. Uh, Oh, I should look it up. The name of the book, though, is called Principles, and Principles is arguably another way to say standards. And he talks about some of the key standards or principles that are required in a work environment that contribute towards their higher level of performance and success. And coincidentally, one of them is unmitigated, unfiltered, clear, transparent feedback. And if it was filtered in any way, shape, or form, that can dilute the effectiveness of the intended message, and can potentially diminish the ability for people to make clear, informed decisions, which in some cases may have dramatic consequences around performance of their hedge fund to the tune of a lot of money. So um, certainly in their work environment, standards and transparent communication is unbelievably important, to the extent that if you choose to get, um, if that makes you uncomfortable, then they're okay with the idea that this isn't the work environment for you. But by the way, we're not advocating for everyone to have that type of communication in their work environment. It's just an example of a standard.
Yeah, I'd speak about an example recently. A colleague, very, very successful business. Business is probably known for their culture within the business. And they, for a long period of time, that they prided themselves on the fact that like their retention of staff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a conversation, it wasn't long ago, it was probably only 6 months ago with the business owner. And he said, Trav, I was walking around the office and I'm like, it just dawned on me, like, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here, right? Like there were people in his office that were underperforming, but because they had this focus around retention and around culture, and everyone, like it's a tough line that you've got to sort of navigate through, right? You've got this culture where everything's great, and we're going to do long lunches on Fridays, and we're going to finish at midday, and all these amazing things, but no work gets done, right? It might be an amazing place to work,
Yeah.
but there's no focus on performance. So he's gone and had to shift and manage some people out of the business and bring some more talent in and change a certain aspect of the culture around performance. And this is where, like, this is at Virtus, we've been very clear on the fact that this is what we do, this is where our values lie, this is where our standards are. And if you don't meet those standards, unfortunately, there's not a we're not gonna hide behind it. We have very, very high standards, and I'm not gonna hide behind it. I'm not here to sit around a knitting circle and sing Kumbaya. We're here as a business. We need to perform, and the people that are performing that have been in the business for years now, they come from their position because they know that they can perform, and they know they're secure in their role. But they're well aware that if they weren't performing, we would be having some tough conversations, and if they couldn't get to a level they were at, they would be moved on because they've seen it. Like, so I'm not gonna like we've had people that have self-selected themselves out of the business because they just said they could not run at the pace that we needed them to run at, or they could not perform at the level we needed from them.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to hide behind that. Like it is what it is, right? That's who we are. That's what they signed up for. So it's again back to that team mentality. We're trying to put together the best possible team we can, and there'll be people that will stay for a season. There'll be people that will stay for 5 seasons. I'd love to have top performers that stay for their entire career, but you know what I mean? Like that's it's just part of rolling with the punches as a business owner.
Yeah, sure. And these are all really great points. And this is an important aspect for each person that listens to this, assuming they are a practice owner, in this instance, a mortgage broker practice owner, to consider what's the work environment and the team environment they want to create. Because I have also seen instances of work environments that, to some degree, seem um, a little bit enviable, for others to aspire to have the work environment that, say, a particular practice owner has created. But when you look under the hood in terms of the performance of the brokers in that work environment, that's it's a little bit deflating. And so, and this is where sometimes the practice owner realizes that the performance of their salaried staff in this instance is underwhelming. But I think that they have this fine balance between taking a sense of pride in having staff members stay for quite some while, and feeling like, dare I say this, that that person's now part of the furniture, or that they're an aspect of the family, if you like. And again, bearing in mind that they've created an ethos where, at the risk of sounding a bit crude here, mediocrity is okay. And so as long as you rock up and you do your bare minimum and you pay your way and you make a little bit of margin for us, then that's acceptable. And whilst I would like to see these people achieve a better result, they're not willing to try and so-called upset the apple cart here in order to elevate performance at the risk of potentially losing staff. Though I And whilst I know that's actually the mindset of some of these people, I also know that in reality, they want their people to lift and they want to have a high performing team. And
I'll
so
give you a
that,
really good example of this of my time in the police. So anyone that's worked in the police knows that police is not known for the culture. Every police service in the country has a pretty poor culture. And the vast majority of the stations and units that I worked in my 15 years in the police were just that very, very poor culture, right? So you're looking at relieving or you're looking at upskilling. So you want to specialize, for example, your boss wouldn't allow you to go and do the training or do a course or go and relieve for a period of time because they're like, we don't want to lose you because we know that if you continue to relieve and you continue to do these things, you will get the skills required to go and move to that particular specialist unit, and then I lose you as a staff member. But in return, what they get is they get this, and it runs like wildfire through the station. It's just this poor culture of we can't relieve, we can't improve ourselves. So what's the point? Like, let's just turn up, go through the motions, and leave. And there's one particular station I worked at early in my career, and the officer in charge was very clear. He's like, Travis, if you want to better yourself, I'm here to support you. You want to relieve you. So he was promoting me doing. At the time, I was trying to become a dog handler, so he was helping me facilitate these things. And he said to me, Trav, I know for you to get there, it's an elite position. You've got to work really hard and you've got to become the best police officer you can. I'd prefer to have you here for 5 years, working your bum off and being an amazing employee and being an amazing officer within the station and helping build that culture within the station. And then you leave and then I'll replace you with another one that I'll do the same with. And the culture within that station was really, it was like a unicorn within the police because it was so much better than the surrounding stations. And that's how he was able to facilitate it. And that's essentially what we're trying to replicate here. Like there will be people that will come into Avertis that will acquire a specific set of skills, and they might go off and do something else, but that's okay. Like they've left Vertis in a better place than where they started. Back to that point of me I've been able to provide value to them, provided they do it ethically, provided they're a good leaver, not a bad leaver. I'll support them moving forward, even if they aren't under the Vertis brand.
yep. So with what you're saying and what I'm hearing, it sounds to me like there are aspects of family values that can be introduced into a work environment. Um, by the same token, from what I'm hearing, it's also important that each person should be clear on the type of work environment that they're looking to create. The one where people are happy to coast and retain staff, though output per team member would be, what I'd call it, mediocre. Again, it might seem like a slightly harsh
Mm.
term, but average is a better term, or in some cases even less than industry average. Uh, versus a different work environment. By the way, that is arguably certain aspects of a family orientation towards, not upsetting the apple cart,
Mm.
having a sense of care, camaraderie, passion, commitment, tenure, etc. There's probably some family values that are brought across to a work environment. And there are obviously certain other work environments, yours being one of those, where um, I would say that there's maybe other values that are brought across, but I can't think of as many families that are high performance by nature. And so and if I think about core family values, which are the ones I just mentioned around
Mm.
care and compassion and thought and consideration and support and so forth, again, some of those can be in the work environment, but if that contradicts high performance, then I think a person needs to make a decision on which values are we prioritizing here in order to achieve the outcome that we want. And I think that's what you're inferring, is whilst there's aspects of attributes to do with a family, but not to mistake a work environment as a family, because potentially if you did that, then you might end up with a drastically different business than the one you actually want.
Yeah, I remember back when I had that approach around that family approach in the business. There was a particular person that was, to be honest, was probably underperforming, but because I'd had a long-standing relationship with this person, like 15 years, and we weren't like, I remember sitting down with my wife and talking, saying if it was anybody but this person, the conversation would have went differently. But because I sort of almost considered this person family,
Yeah.
like it stopped me from having the tough conversation.
Mm.
And the performance was struggling in the business. Like what would happen? Like, and then look,
Did
person
they
that
know they were underperforming and that they were finding it difficult to approach you as well? Because I reckon in situations like that, in most cases, there's probably a bubble that's positively burst, so to speak. Like it's like the pressure has been brought out of the room by actually having the conversation rather than tiptoeing around it when they know they're performing poorly, you know they're performing poorly, but you don't want to address it.
Yeah, yeah. Look, they would have been aware of it. And
Unless they're happy to coast along and just,
they weren't happy to, yeah, they weren't happy to coast, but they would have been aware of it because they know where my values and my standards lie, and they knew they weren't meeting those standards. And look, I would consider them to be a bad leaver. There were some pretty underhanded things that happened as part of when this person left the business.
right.
So it was but I have no doubt that they would have been going, well, hang on a minute. If it was anybody but me here, this probably would be a different. Trav would have a different conversation. Like
Yep.
I don't know. Like I mean, like people in my team would probably
So he was
consider.
more like family.
Sorry, yeah,
So he was
and
more like family.
yeah, I treated this person like family, and I treated this person like family, and there was some very like it was some very underhanded and unethical things. Like I end up like
Which, by the way, family members do on
yeah,
occasions.
yeah. And look, yeah, and that's sort of thing. Like, yeah, man, like we've had people come in the business, come out of the business. That's the only time. I don't think my wife wouldn't have any issue with me telling you this. That when when this particular person left the business and what occurred, my wife was in tears over it. Like my wife runs HR and does the payroll. She's sort of pretty removed from the business. If anyone in our business left tomorrow, I guarantee it, she wouldn't be crying over it. So
Yeah.
it's probably, you know what I mean? It like,
I get it. It's certainly, believe me, not the first time and won't be the last time where a valued person, valued not necessarily in terms of output or contribution, but valued in terms of who they are and the 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 sum total of the relationship that's been accumulated over a period of time, ends up finishing and usually for reasons that are um, yeah, like disappointing,
hmm.
can cause cause stress or cause a lot of mixed emotions in moments like that.
You look at my staff members now. Like I'm at the moment, we're really well positioned. We've got a really strong support team. Our contractors are performing very well. And if any one of them was to turn around today and leave, it wouldn't take the emotional toll on me and my wife that particular because of the way that we've changed the way that we approach this. Right? Don't get me wrong. Would we be disappointed if some key personnel left the business tomorrow? 100% we would be.
Of course.
But they were team members. They were here for a season. They made a decision to leave, and we just
Yep.
move on.
Yep. Dude, I get it. So, we, to our group, our listeners, we hope you found this valuable. If you have a completely different opinion than either Trav or myself, although hopefully you've seen that we're trying to give you a bit of contrasting perspectives here, we'd value your feedback. How does this sit with you? Do you see this as family can be forever? Is family for a season, as Trav is saying? Does it serve for a period of time? Does the tenure of that person serve for a moment, but not a lifetime? There's obviously different ways to look at this. We're open to thoughts and comments, so by all means, feel free to share your opinions with us. Because as Trav's alluded to in previous podcasts as well, we want to make sure that we're serving you and providing value and hopefully giving you some perspectives that cause you to be a little bit more deliberate around how you structure things, as opposed to coasting along and not necessarily being able to derive the benefit of value that you want out of your business and to some degree also out of your life. So with that in mind, thanks for listening today. Trav, any parting words or?
No, I think we've covered off on everything for today.
Beauty. Well, that is this transaction complete, dare I say, tongue in cheek. And thanks all. Appreciate you listening to us, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys.